against your home. The enemy came up against your children. The enemy came up against your name. The enemy came up against your character. You will win. You will win. The enemy came up against your health. The enemy came up against your finances. The enemy came up against your vision. The enemy came up against your business. You will win. Oh, you will win. Yes, you will. Oh, you will win. I want to let you know today that you will win. Hey, yeah. I know you're hurt. I know you're torn. I know you're broken, but you will win. All of those may be fair, but the truth still remains that in the name of Jesus, so lay your hands on yourself.
And I'm a little dark tonight. Can y'all see Pastor Nate? I'm a little dark tonight. All right, we're going to have to fix this. All right, I'm a little dark tonight. I know this is going to be all over the country tonight, and so I want to make sure that you all can see me. If I'm dark, y'all let me know if I'm dark. Can y'all let me know if I'm dark? Come on, I am dark, Bianca. I don't know how we can fix this. We are live, but I'm dark, and the lighting, no sound. Okay, there is sound. Check your phone. Check your phone. People are saying no sound, so we're going to check on that real fast. All right, come on in, everybody. Come on in, everybody. And let's try to, can't hear. All right, they're working on that now. They're working on that now. All right. All right. All right, if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Sound on now. Okay, good. Pastor Bridges, thank you. All right, Lady Z is on. They're working on my lighting. Do me a favor, everybody. I want you to go ahead and share this podcast right now, wherever you are. Do me a favor. Tag as many people as you can into this podcast episode tonight. Do that right now. Tag as many people as you can. I think we're live on our Greater Life page. We are live on our Greater Life page. That's more lighting. Yes. Thank you, team. Can y'all see me now? All right. I went back down. Whatever y'all did, bring it on over here. All right. Go ahead and tag some people right now. It's good to see everybody on. We're at 26. Y'all, let's do this. Let's get to 100 active viewers tonight. Can we do that tonight? 100 active viewers. And we are on our Greater Life page. Let me go to Greater Life right now. And let me get as many people in here as I can tonight on our Greater Life page. All right? Good deal. All right. Are y'all tagging right now? Are y'all tagging right now? All right. That's your brother. Okay. I see it. All right. I don't see us live on GLC page. Maybe I'm, there it is. I see it. All right. We have 29. All right. 30. Good deal. All right. Let me share to my page. We're going to do that. All right. Good deal. All right. Are y'all tagging? There you go. Thank you. Thank you. And do me a favor. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know where you're watching from. If you're watching live right now, let me know where you're watching from tonight so that we can give you a shout out. Shout out your city on tonight. Amen. Shout out your city tonight. Good deal. Thank you. Good to see you. All right, good. Tag. Get everybody up. And we're working here. Good to see you. All right, Minister in Training Lavelle, Tracy Bridges, I see you. Good to see everybody tonight. We're excited for what the Lord is going to do tonight. All right, good deal. Powerful testimony. I'm sharing on my end, and this is going to be a powerful night on tonight. All right, I just shared to my page here at the church. All right. Good deal. I'm watching your comments come in. I'll give you a chance tonight to ask a few questions to Minister Sadell tonight. But I want to do this. I believe God is going to do something powerful tonight. I believe lives are going to be impacted tonight for the good. So let me first say, Minister Sadell, thank you for the opportunity to interview you tonight. I love your theme, by the way. Talk about broken crayons, still color. Put that into context and word.
Okay. For me, Broken Crayon Still Color came to me about 2.5 years ago during my journey for minister in training. And for me, Broken Crayon Still Color just means that it doesn't matter where you're at in your life, whatever that season is, that you still can, recover and recreate. And that I kind of use that to get through my journey, is to understand, like, yes, I'm here at this moment and I may have been broken, but I still can paint the world with, my gifts, my talents, and even my story and my testimony.
Wow. Life is not over even with a bad season. Even life still goes on.
Absolutely, it does.
Right.
It does.
And I love that. Tonight, that is the whole idea, the theme, broken crayon, still color. For everybody watching tonight, maybe you had a tough season. Maybe there was a moment in your journey that really embarrassed you, hurt you, traumatized you. The reality tonight is that broken crayons do still color, that God, Minister Sadell, can still use them. Is that what you're saying tonight?
Absolutely.
God
and I am a living
You're
testimony
living witness
to
to that. Praise God. Listen, I want to do an interview tonight with Minister Sadell. She asked me to do this because she wanted to share her testimony. And I believe that this is a powerful moment because, the Bible speaks in Psalm 107 that we are called, the redeemed are called to say so.
Yes.
Let the redeemed of the Lord say so. In other words, the Bible teaches us that when God moves in our lives, there is a moment to testify.
Right.
When God redeems, the word redeem, in fact, Minister Dale, means to buy us back, to pull us back in. And when God pulls us back in, the Bible says somebody ought to say something. And I want you to give Minister Sadell a hand for not being ashamed to testify of her redemption. Come on, give God praise for that, to testify of her redemption. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. And I want you to come in close. Are you tagging and sharing? Our goal is 100 tonight. Help us get to 100 tonight. And we know that many are going to go back and watch the replay. But I want to get to 100 live viewers tonight. And I believe that we can do that. I want to ask this question to you, Minister Sadell. Who is Sadell Potomi? We know Minister Sadell here, who is a great preacher, by the way. She's a woman of leadership, and we're so happy that she's a part of our church. But who is Sadell Potomi? Tell us about you. Look in the camera and tell who don't y'all want to know who is Sadell Potomi? Let the world know who you are, your upbringing, your child, where you're from. Tell us about Sadell.
Okay.
Let the world know who you are.
Well, I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, born and raised.
Okay.
All my life. I've only been in California about 4.5, 5 years now. Mm-hmm. I grew up in a neighborhood that was community. I had friends as a child. We played hide and go seek.
Right.
We had to come home before the street lights came on or we was going to be in trouble. It was an all around pretty good childhood. There were some things that was shaky in my childhood, but as a child, I got to play outside and, do things like that.
Right.
My young adult years, my childhood was short-lived. I kind of had to step into a young adult role because I had my first child at 15. And some people, it was like I think I was part of the baby boomer type of thing at that time.
Right.
People were like really astonished, like, she's pregnant. I mean, I was 15 years old. I was still, in middle school when I was pregnant with my daughter Dayana, and it was a shock for a lot of people. I got like a lot of grief about it, but it wasn't really difficult for me because I had my grandmother in my life, my nana, and she helped raise me most of my life. But I gained a lot of tools from her. But because of my mom was an addict most of my life,
Right.
From about age 12 until about 3 years ago. So I was the caretaker for my brothers. So I was the one to take care of both of my siblings. Well, I only had one sibling through my childhood and teenage years, and then I had another one. But I was the one that took care of them, when my mom was out in the streets doing her thing. I had to miss school like every 2 weeks whenever the welfare check was coming.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't meet her
Wow.
at the place where she was getting the food stamps and stuff, we wasn't going to eat.
Right.
So I had a lot of responsibilities as a child. So when I had my first kid, it wasn't too hard because I had, raised my brothers. So with that, I then, my first child, my child's father, we were together. I had several children after her. By the time I was 22, I think I had 4 kids. At the time I was 22 or 23.
Wow. Okay.
I had 4 children. Okay. So I had to grow up kind of fast, But, I was built for it, looking back.
Right.
Somebody had to do it, and it was always me. So I was the caretaker. And then in my adult years, I had several children by the time I was 22. So I missed a lot of childhood stuff and things that typical teenagers and stuff do because I was a parent. So there wasn't no way I could, go out and play with my friends because I had children to take care of. And it wasn't all bad, but there was a lot of stuff in between that I had to deal with. With respect to growing up and trying to maintain in the neighborhood where I grew up in, wasn't like after my youth into my young adult and adult years, a lot of people back home were getting murdered. Like people I went to school with, it was a lot of crime up there. So I lost a lot of people to gun violence back home. So a lot of, I guess, separation and abandonment things in my life, pretty much. But I never had time to cope with those things. I just had to kind of keep pushing because I was a parent.
Yeah.
And I had to make sure that my children were okay. And I had 2 sons. So I'm trying to raise my children the right way and live in the correct places in Pittsburgh so that my kids didn't get caught up in what was going on at the time. So it wasn't all bad, but there was some pretty defining moments in my childhood, in my young adult, and my adult years that helped shape me to who I am today.
Wow. So you are a teen mom, and then, of course, at 22, you had 4 kids.
I think I was working on my 4th kid.
At 22 years, and your mother had an addiction. From what age did you say?
Well, I remember since I was about 11 until 3 years ago when she came down here to be with me.
Wow. And that's something to celebrate. Her mother is a recovering. Can we give God praise for that? A recovering addict, and we celebrate that. And tell me about your kids, Minister Sadell. I want everybody to hear. I mean, you have 5 kids and 7 grandkids, and one more on the way. Yes. Tell us about your children, and because I grew up in a single parent home, and my mom had me at 16, and I thank God by His grace. She was able to raise me and, of course, the village around me. Talk about where your children are now, because they are testimonies of you. They're extensions of you. Brag on your babies a minute.
I am.
Look in that camera and brag on your babies a minute.
My firstborn that I had at 15, she's in here with me now. She's the best mom I've ever seen in life. And I ain't just saying that because she's my daughter. I just truly believe that. She works really well with her kids, and it's opposite of what I done because I didn't know any better when I was raising her. I had to learn with her. And so I didn't make the best decisions with her, and she went to school and she's a licensed cosmetologist here in California. And she does my hair. So anytime, if y'all go on any of my pages and stuff and see my hairstyles, it's done by Dayana. And I don't pay her either. Figured I
Free of
raised.
charge.
That's right, because I raised her and I feel like I gave you life, give me a hairstyle. So that's Dayana. That's my oldest. Then it's David Jr. I call him my man child. I think he hates that I call him a mama's boy, but he's a mama's boy, and I don't play about my son. Right. David he's changed a lot, because David was the reason I had to move from different neighborhoods like every year, like literally 365th day I got to move because David had done something and it's time to go. Like, so, but now today he is active in the church here at Greater Life. Yes,
God.
he
Come
is
on, give God
part
praise,
of the
everybody.
media team
Yes,
here.
he is. Yes.
And he's consistent and he's structured and he's loving and kind, and he probably gonna be upset. He's here with me too because he don't like that soft stuff. But he grew up to be an amazing man. I'm really proud of him. Then I have a daughter, Dejanique. She's pregnant. She's actually the one that's about to have my 8th child. I'm grandchild, and she is a ball of energy. Dejanique is hilarious. She's funny. She has drive like me. Her work ethics are like me. She's like her mom with that. And she has 2 sons. Then I have Corey. My son Corey, he lives in West Virginia. He was raised with his dad's side of the family because part of my journey before was I was running the streets left and right. I wanted to go to the bars and club, and then I wanted to get myself together, and I moved to Atlanta. And my son had been with his family ever since, so he didn't grow up in the household with the rest of my kids. But we do have a relationship, and he actually just had a baby this month, too, maybe last week. And then my youngest child is Jatea. Jatea is a mom, too. She just had a baby, Jakai. He's a year old. Jatea was the star child. I'm sorry for my other kids, but I was like, I think she was switched at birth because she was nothing like the rest of the kids. She was nice and kind and pleasant, and she wasn't like the rest of the kids. And she enjoyed school when the rest of them was like, here, I got your diploma. This is what you wanted. Don't ask me to go to college.
Right.
I'm not doing nothing else. Jatea, played the clarinet, I think, for like 6-7 years.
Wow.
She's smart. But those are all 5 of my kids, and they're all doing really well. Even though I'm down here, only 2 of my 5 is down here in California with me. The rest of them is back in Pittsburgh.
That's good. Y'all, let's give God praise. This is a little bit about Sadale, and I think that's very important because I think so many times, Minister Sadale, people are so caught up in our titles and positions in the church that they forget that we're real people.
Yes.
And we have real backgrounds.
Yes.
And we've had some real challenges in our lives. And I've always appreciated your ability to be transparent. Let me ask you this question. And I want y'all to keep sharing. I think we're at, how many we have on our Greater Life page? We're at 40 right now on our Greater Life page. I want to get to 100 tonight because I believe God is going to really touch lives on tonight. Let me ask you this, Sadale, and can I call you Sadale tonight? Because I think this is a moment of realness and transparency. When did you begin to see your life shift in a downward direction? We all have that moment in our life where we want to venture out, we want to try things and do things. At what point, and you talked about being a teen mom and having to raise your siblings because of your mom's challenges. But at what point in your life, what age, when did the shift happen for you?
The shift, like when things started to shift
downward. When you started to go in the opposite direction of your purpose, and when the street, when the things of the world had a pull on your life. At what point did you see that?
I seen it pretty much throughout my life because, where I come from, it wasn't a lot of opportunities. You had to rob Peter to pay Paul, and then most of the times I had to scam and stuff to get what I needed because I was a mother with multiple kids.
Wow.
So I had got in trouble for welfare fraud one time. I wanted to go to school. I went to school to get a degree. They wanted me to go to a welfare to work program. So they said, quit school and go to this welfare to work program. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. Sit 8 hours in a room with a bunch of people on a computer to apply for jobs when this education would help me. So I made some I made fake pay stubs and
Okay.
I sent them to the welfare office so they could let me stay in school, and my children were in daycare, so and they paid for the daycare.
Right,
So
okay.
when they found out about it, and it was a group of us, we was almost like an organized crime or something. It was terrible, and
To provide for your family.
that's all I wanted to do was
Right.
I
Okay.
needed to provide for my family, but
Right.
that it was still wrong nonetheless. And so I had got charged with welfare fraud because of that, and it was it hurt me being able to get jobs because don't nobody want a thief, you know.
Right.
So and it kept coming up on my background. So I did things. I used to hustle in the street, you know. My brothers were heavy in the streets. They did a lot of hustling.
Define hustle in Pennsylvania terms.
Okay, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. When we hustle, it's not like some people might use it like I go to work and I work hard. I mean like selling drugs. Is what I
Drugs.
mean.
Okay, I just wanted hustle. It's different in different places. So hustle in Pennsylvania, same thing, I guess, down south and out here on the West Coast. But you got in the whole you were out in the street, drugs, selling drugs.
Yeah, selling
Wow.
drugs or, you know, moving it around if I needed to. Whatever I needed to do to get more income to be able to, you know, not just provide for my kids. It was also, too, because I wanted to live that life. I was infatuated with the way that life was.
Right.
So, and I had access to it because my brothers were heavy in the
Sure,
streets.
right.
But that was really short-lived because, you know, then they went to jail. My brothers went to jail, and then,
Wow.
you know, that was my supply was, like, cut off at that point
Sure.
because I wasn't going to go outside of them.
Right.
Because I didn't, you know, you have, back home it's trust issues. Like, you got to watch people
Wow.
working with the police and stuff like that. So it got pretty hard there. But, yeah, I think it was, like, I had to do what I needed to do to make it work for me and my kids and also to be able to run the streets because
Wow.
that's what I was into at the time.
Wow. Come on, can y'all give God praise for honesty? Amen. Come on, y'all. Are y'all clapping? And this is the redeemed saying so. So at what age did all this happen? Was it at 25? You were a young adult. At what age did you see going in the negative direction that you spoke about?
I saw it. Well, I didn't see it as a negative direction until recently.
Wow.
In 2018, January 2018. Let me back up. So I think we moved here in 2016.
Okay.
We moved to San Diego in 2016.
Okay.
Myself, my husband, my son David, his then wife, and my youngest daughter Jatea.
Okay.
We moved to San Diego. And we moved here because of what was going on back home. Like my husband was into the streets, all like that.
Right.
And it had gotten bad. He had already had done time, about 6 years that I stayed with him through, visited every week, you know, at the prison while he was there, and he came home. We got married, but then it just got really rough. My son David had got shot. He had like 11 holes in his legs. But he walks fine. He didn't die, you know, things like that. But I was like, I'm done.
Wow.
We were so engulfed in the street, and I just kept seeing like every time we try to do something our way, it's always something big and catastrophic that happens.
Wow.
I was tired of the SWAT team coming to my house. I was tired of, you know, calling my son's friends, you know, every day asking, like, where is he? Because he wouldn't pick up the phone, or it's just because he's somewhere. And I was nervous. So I had told God, you know, if you get us out of this situation, because at this time my husband had been caught another case,
Right.
and it was detrimental. He was on parole at the time, and if he would have got found guilty, that would have been it. And, you know, I had worked really hard to create things for our family. And I was like, okay, God, if you get him out of this situation, I will leave Pittsburgh, and I promise that, you know, every dollar that we make will be an honest dollar, you know. And God did it. And so we got up and we left, and we came here. And I think in January of 2018, my husband left. He just up and walked out on me. And I found out the way I knew he wasn't coming back was through an email. He emailed me and kind of said something like, he couldn't do this, he couldn't take care of our family how he was used to back home, and so and then he was just gone.
Let me stop you, Sadell. Let me ask you this. So 2016, you moved here just for a friend. Why did y'all pick San Diego? Why San Diego?
My husband actually picked San Diego.
Picked San
I
Diego.
wanted to go like towards Atlanta, like
Right.
somewhere that
Okay.
way. But we it snows in Pittsburgh a lot, so we were tired of the snow. We
Okay.
came down here, scoped it out for like a week, and then he decided like this is where
Okay.
we're gonna be. And I was just being a submissive wife that I
To
thought
your
at the
husband.
time.
Absolutely.
And I came here.
2016, you're here with your husband.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like the first? Because you say he left in 2018. Let's kind of work up to the departure.
Okay.
What was 2016 to 2018 like prior to him departing?
It was like everything else, like how it always was. We were, coming together because we were in a new state. No, we didn't know anybody
no
here.
family.
No
Right,
family.
sure.
But I had a job offer before I got here, so I was
Okay.
coming here into a job.
Okay.
But we were like, now this version of hustling was different. We was trying to figure out ways like everybody get a job because the cost of living here is really
Absolutely.
high compared to Pittsburgh.
Sure.
And so, but it was good. It wasn't too bad. We were just living life and trying to scope out San Diego and see what that was like.
Sure.
Him and David both got jobs. They worked, I believe, at 2 Men in a Truck when we first got here together. So it was great. Everything was happening. I got a job. They got a job. And I think David's then wife, she might have didn't have a job at first. So she was at home with her daughter because she had a daughter too, and my youngest daughter. But it was good. We just was being a family like we used to be up until to that point. There wasn't even no big thing happen prior to that. I mean, it was just how it always been. And anybody back home who knows me and Linnell and our marriage knows how we were a good team. We were
Right.
a good couple.
I remember you mentioned that you guys were even going to church. Were you baptized together at a church? Was that here or in Pittsburgh?
No, it was in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
When my
All right.
husband got when God released him from prison for that situation.
Right.
He came home and he went to the church I was in at the time. And I didn't ask him to. He got up there and he got baptized.
Wow.
So yeah, we went
That's
to church
good.
together as a family. My kids would go too, not all the time. Sometimes I had to be like, "You come to church today?" No, but for the most part, yes. He went to church. We went to church together.
Wow. 2018, there was another shift. And now I wanted to, because I think it's good for people to know that it wasn't all bad.
It wasn't bad at all.
And I think that's the context of your
Yes.
marriage. It
Yes.
wasn't all bad, but something happened in 2018. So you say that 2018 he leaves and you found out through an email.
Yeah, that he didn't want to be
Wow. Okay.
with me anymore because he couldn't be who he wanted to be for me and the family. That's what
Okay.
he told me, but that wasn't why.
Okay. Good deal.
I found out later that, so once my husband left, he left, and I had a really hard time because I didn't understand because everything was always good. We had
Right.
like little back and forth little arguments, but it was never, we never had a big thing. The biggest thing I can remember is because, he's the only child. His mom he's spoiled to his mom and stuff like
Right.
that. And that was the only issues we had was like, because I'm 5 years older than he is.
Okay.
And, it was that mama's boy type of thing. And I was an adult. So I felt like, no, my household, your household. So that was
Sure.
maybe the only thing, and maybe some baby mama stuff.
Right.
But other than that, there was no issues. So that's why when he left, it was so like, what is this? Like, what? I don't understand. And then I felt like, where's the fight? Like, if that was the case, why aren't you talking to me? Why aren't we trying to figure this thing
Right.
out like we always do? But it wasn't that. It was just, this is what I'm feeling and going through, and he was gone. And then I found out a while later because my son's ex-wife, she disappeared.
Okay.
And then we were like, we didn't think nothing of it at the time. it was just like, okay, my son and her were always going back and forth. They were always going at it.
Right.
So it wasn't nothing new if something was going on with them. But she left, and it wasn't, I never thought of it. My best friend back home actually was the first person ever to be like, do you think that they're together? And I'm like, what? No, what? That's crazy. Like, I just dismissed it.
Right.
But then I found out later that that was the case. We have a mutual friend, me and my husband, who ended up calling and letting me know that he had traveled here to San Diego and was with both my husband and my son's wife. And then they went to Vegas. And so that's how I found out that my husband didn't leave me because he couldn't provide for me or my kids. He left me because he wanted to be with my son's wife.
Wow. So your husband, and this is your son who you love.
Yes.
And so 2018, so you have a major situation now in the family. And I see you're getting teary-eyed. Is that the thought of it? Is it, what are you feeling right now as you share that? And I'm grateful that you're sharing this, but what are your emotions right now?
Well, because my family has always been
Take your time.
my purpose.
Take your time.
And I worked really hard. I worked really hard with building that
Let's get this light, guys.
while he was in prison doing that first bid, that 6-year bid. I, set up things for our family, and he raised my children. I met him in 2003. We got married in 2010.
Right.
So we talking like 18 years, and I fought hard for our family, and I'm only here in San Diego because I was trying to protect him and protect my son. And when I talk about that betrayal, I've never in my life experienced betrayal and brokenness and I think abandonment so much. And it's been 3 years since it happened, but it still pricks at my heart when I think about my son being it, like that. My son, who has the heart of, he has a big heart, and he has been there for my husband. And, my son even went to jail one time for my husband. Took a case for my husband one time before. So it just hurts to know, like, I opened the door to somebody, to my children and everything,
Sure.
and to my life, and then that was the way that it ended, was because you wanted to covet something that I still don't even get why. Because if I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even want my son to be with the chick that he was with.
Right.
I did not.
Right.
Just something about that girl I never really quite could get with. It was just something. But in order for me to have David come to California with me, he was like, I'm not going to go unless they go, because she had a baby that David had, like,
Sure.
raised.
Right.
And I didn't want to leave my son in Pittsburgh to be murdered. So I was like, forget it, she could come. But I never really had that thing for her. It was just something about, I never knew what, but she was a child.
Sure.
And I did never mistreat her. But now when we get to this point, and it's like, wait, my husband left me here in a place I know nobody, with my son, with my daughter,
Oh, Jesus.
and left with my son's wife. So it doesn't really bother me, but it still hurts to think, like, wow, like, everything that we went through and built and all of that came down to that moment.
Wow. So you are now a hurting wife at the time, but you were also a hurting mother because you're having to watch your son. And that story was so amazing. And I have always commended your son because I know the story of how he raised a beautiful child, just an upstanding young man. And to hear this in real time, it's emotional. People are crying, Sadell, right now as they're watching live. People are feeling you right now. How did you guys? Are you over it? Are you dealing with it? How did you cope? How did your family cope? I'm sure this is all messy because you got San Diego, you got family in Pittsburgh, you got his family. How did y'all cope with that? That's a lot to really bear. And I'm sharing as she's talking because I just believe people need to hear this. And if it's okay with you, you should share and tag people because this is liberating testimony tonight. So, Dale, how did y'all get through that season? Are you over the season? Just kind of talk to us about that a little bit.
Today I'm over it, but that was a long process.
Sure.
I couldn't be there for my son because during that process, it took the wind out of me.
Right.
I literally just died. I died. I just wasn't myself. I couldn't really wrap my head around what happened, and I let go.
Right.
And I tried suicide several times. I couldn't be there for David, even though we were going through at the same time, but I couldn't even be there for myself. He wasn't able to cope and deal with it because he had to make sure I was okay. I had lost weight dramatically, like out of nowhere. I couldn't eat. I started smoking marijuana a lot because I just didn't want to feel what I felt.
Right.
That process took me 2 years to actually hit. I wouldn't take a shower. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I couldn't. I didn't cope with it. I just didn't. I just let go, and I really just didn't want to live because my marriage and my husband was everything to me, like everything to me. My family was always my purpose, but when I got to that point of being married to a man who showed me nothing but love ever since I met him, he was
Right.
very caring and nurturing and supportive, and he was a provider and all those things. But I realized in my life, like I think men in my life has been, that's it for me. They always go away. Starting from, like, my stepdad that raised me, he passed away. I had a brother that was murdered. My brother's going to prison. One of my favorite cousins in the world, being murdered. So men in my life always seem to just go away, and it's abrupt and stuff like that. But this was different for me. This was like, there's nothing I could do. It was like I was watching myself. I was outside of myself, looking at myself, just dying because this man was my world and he was gone, and he wasn't responding. Or I was trying to reach out to be like, well, can we go to counseling? Can we do something? But he had changed his number and everything, so I had no way to get in touch with him, except for an email address I had that we had created together, and I would reach out and just say, talk to me. Can we try? Can we? But he never responded ever, like ever. And so that just put me even deeper into a depression because I felt like, wow, I was there for you when you needed me. When you didn't have to need anybody else. I was there for you. My children were there for you. And in the moment where I don't know what it was with him. I just know that wasn't the person that I married, is what I know. But I didn't cope with it, Pastor Nate. I let go, and I wanted to go. I wanted to just die. I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to talk to it. I had isolated myself from all of my family in Pittsburgh. I got rid of my Facebook page from there because I was embarrassed, because people back home knew me and my husband, and we were popular back home. And so to have to tell people or people to find out not only that he left me, because everybody back home also knew how I was the support for our family, while he was in prison. And I didn't want people to be like, wow, she waited and did that 6-year bid with him and then he left her. And so I just didn't want to face it. So I disconnected from the whole entire world, and I just literally stayed in my room. I stayed in my room and I did nothing.
Wow. I wanna ask you this again. I heard you, but I want to make sure um, that the world heard you. You said that you, because of this trauma, you attempted suicide. Did I hear twice?
Yes.
Talk about that, Sadell. I want you to look in that camera because here's why it's very, for me, and I tell you guys this all the time, we got to be careful how we treat people and how we judge people because the truth is we never know, family, we never know what people are dealing with or have dealt with. You're looking at a woman who can preach and we shout about how God is using her, but underneath that, here's a woman who by God's grace is still alive. You attempted to take your life twice. Sadell, I don't even think I knew that. I knew that there were maybe some suicidal thoughts, but I don't even think I remember you sharing that. Can you talk to the world that you attempted suicide?
So,
And your family, Shaquita, say she love you. Shaquia Lewis,
oh,
she Land said come home so she can love on you.
Shaylin, that's my
Shaylin,
niece.
that's your niece. Tell the world about that story.
So, the pain was so unbearable. My chest, it just used to do this thing where it just, I don't know, it felt like I was being stabbed in my heart multiple times. And I just didn't want to feel that anymore. And because I was so broken, my children were trying, I'm looking at my kids and I know they never saw me that way. I'm like superwoman to my kids and those that I raised. And so I couldn't get my kids to understand, like inside, I'm like, I'm trying my best to fight. But my kid, it wasn't enough, and they're always enough for me. So when it wasn't enough, just thinking about my kids, I was like, well, what's the point? Like, I might as well. I mean, they're watching me dwindle away, so I might as well like just end it, so they don't have to be embarrassed or feel this hurt. So I took some pills I had in my bathroom, took my car, I drove to the beach, and I took a lot of pills. Um, it really didn't do nothing but make me sleep. And then I had nightmares about my husband, so it was like I ain't doing that again, but I did. I sat in my car with music playing, and I just took a whole bunch of pills, and I leaned the seat back, and I just was like, I ain't doing this no more. I'm not. I don't want to feel this. I'm tired of people trying to encourage me to do better. I can't do it. Like I can't. I had no fight in me at all, and so I took the pills. But I woke up about, I don't know, it was like 10 hours later maybe, because whatever, I don't even remember what pills. I had pills in my cabinet, and I knew some of them was like muscle relaxers. There was like antidepressants. I didn't care. I just took bottles and I dumped them all in a bag, and I just was taking them. That was the first time. The second time, it was more of an attempt where I was going to drive my car into the beach. We live close to a beach. So I revved my car up a few late night and just drove really, really fast. But always before I get to the point where my car would literally like go over into the sand, I couldn't go no further. It would be like, that's when I would snap into this reality, like, what are you doing? Like, it's,
So the sand literally stopped your car from going.
yeah, I got all the way up onto the thing, and then I got into the sand, and then my tire started to spin. So I couldn't go no further, and that's when I was able to be like, it's hard. But you can't, this can't be the way. And I talked to myself and was like, this can't be the way. And then I'm like, well, what other way is it? Because I didn't have any family here, so there was nowhere for me to like turned to. I felt stuck, and I didn't want to pull on my son anymore because he was going through too. And I just, that was the weakest. I was a weak moment for me, like, because I'm not a weak person, but that it just took me out, Pastor Nate. Like, I never loved somebody like I loved him, and I never gave all of myself that way to somebody and built in that, just
Wow.
it was so many good things that I didn't understand why it turned out to be so bad, so fast.
Amen. Listen, can y'all just give her a hand? We have some water. Let's get her some water. Let's get her some water. Give her a hand, everybody. Come on.
But that second time, what you don't know is, thank you. What you don't know is the second time that I did that is when I called Lady Z. And I told her, I was like, I can't do this. And she actually drove down to me. And instead of me taking my car into the beach, she came pick me up from the house. And we drove to the beach. And we just sat in the parking lot and we just talked. And I didn't never share that word. I didn't tell her that an hour prior to that, I had literally tried to drive my car through it. I just called her and was like, I didn't have anybody. Like, there was, like, back home, I would have called my best friend, which probably wouldn't have been a good idea because she's turned. And Lord, if it would have happened in Pittsburgh, I'd have been in jail because I would have reacted a different way. But it was because I didn't have anybody. There was nobody for me. So I dealt with all that by myself. Like, there was nothing until I reconnected with a friend of mine that I met when I first came to San Diego, Sade Bates. And I called her because she had met me. I met her and she met Nell, so she had met us together. Mm-hmm. So when I found an old phone of mine, her number was in there, I called her and I told her what happened. And we reconnected and she invited me to come to a Bible study at Greater Life Church.
And that kind of, first of all, y'all, I hope we hear this because when you look at Minister Sadell, and they're working on my lighting, you all, so if I'm a little dark, y'all bear with the team. If you look at Minister Sadell, there's a whole new perspective that you ought to have. I never knew as her lead servant that she attempted on 2 occasions to take her life. And, I think we hear that, but we don't always process it. And I heard some people typing in, God blocked it. God didn't allow it to happen. And Sadell, I want you to know that you have purpose, and the reason you're here is because you have purpose. And I wanted to ask you, though, through all of that, man, that was a turning point. And you mentioned Sade, and shout out to Sade if you're watching. Sade, she invited you to a Bible study.
Yep, in February.
And tell us, so this is when I guess you're trying to find your way through this pain. Talk about the journey from the suicide attempts and the pain that you've had to carry. Now you're in a Bible study.
Mm-hmm. And now I'm in a Bible study.
Yeah.
And you were teaching on the Beatitudes. So this happened. My husband left in January 19th, 2018. I came to the Bible study in February that of 2018, so a month later, and to a Bible study. And you were preaching the Beatitudes, and from that Bible study, because of what you were teaching and how you taught it, I felt something. It was like, because let me back up. Me and my son, we did join the church prior to Greater Life, but I wasn't getting what I needed there. I mean, I went every Sunday, but I couldn't get like that. There was something. I didn't know what the something was, but I was still broken when I would leave from out of there. So when Sade invited me to Greater Life and I went to the Bible study, I got something else and I felt like home because I always I knew who God was.
Right.
You know, I was raised to go to church and things like that. I just didn't have my own personal relationship with
Sure.
him at the time. But I came to Greater Life Church. You preached on the, you taught on the Beatitudes, and I joined the church at the Bible study that day. And I remember that fall, that was Wednesday. Saturday, there was a powder room that Lady Z was facilitating,
Yeah.
and it was women in there. We just got to talk about, I forget what the topic was, but at that time, I was able to share that I was broken, that
Wow.
something had happened to me
Yeah.
recently, and that I really needed help. But through tears, and because nobody at the church saw me without crying, it was
Right.
always tears. So that was the turning point when I got to the powder room, and there were women all around me, and I was able to tell what was going on, and people didn't like look crazy at me or anything like that. They were crying, they were teary eyed,
Sure.
and I got lots of hugs and phone numbers and stuff like that. Met some pretty key people from that. But that's where it turned when I joined Greater Life Church, is where the turning point happened, because now I'm surrounded by I don't know anybody. So now God was giving me a new family. He was giving me I felt his strength in that, because now I wasn't going to go home and just look at my son and, you know, try to go in my room and shut the door and he come in and try to make me eat. I had something to look forward to,
Sure.
you know. Okay, the powder room was Saturday, then church was on Sunday, and then we
Right.
was going to do Bible study again on Wednesday. So that happened consistently for a couple weeks, and then in
Right.
March, you approached me during one of our counseling sessions and told me that God had told you that I was called to be at MIT. You had a MIT program. It had already started. I think I might have been a week behind. And then you had approached me about that. And I had never done public speaking or anything like that before in my life. So I was just like, okay, whatever. But I wanted God so bad that I would do anything, you know. But I there was something about you when you taught that Wednesday, something about the powder room that Saturday, and something about Sunday service. What I know now was the Holy Spirit speaking to me and telling me, like, this is where you belong.
Right.
And so I began to, I still was a mess, but I could be a mess, and I had people around me that I can,
Right.
you know, talk to and call on and hang around and things like that. So that was the turning point, is when
Wow.
I found a church home, not just a church home, because it was the people in the church.
Wow.
You could go anywhere and people hear your story and they just like, okay, whatever. These people were invested in me getting better.
Wow.
And from there, I mean, it took off.
Wow. And how many of you remember Sadell when we were in this building? And y'all, we're actually recording in the renovated, now our admin building. But y'all remember her? She was the second pew from the back. And she would come in every Sunday, and she would have, what do you call, the bandana on her head. Her eyes would literally be swollen, bags under her eyes, and she would sit in the back, and she would literally be rocking the whole service. She would never really look up, and she would literally be rocking the whole service. Sadell, I remember there were so many people who would stare at you. And I felt even people watching me, because I think, Sadell, on my watch, I don't think you know this, I think you were really the first broken person on my journey as the leader of this church. Now, we have many now, over 600 people who have come in from all walks of life. But on my watch, you were the first person who I literally saw from day one. Y'all remember the bandana on her head? The back. Come on, y'all type in. No smile. Vonda said you didn't even smile. Mean. You didn't know whether to say hello or not. You just left her alone. But she showed up. And I want to thank God for you, Greater Life, because this is why we teach so much on reaching people where they are and loving people where they are. What if we would have not welcomed her? What if we would have just looked at her crazy and she never came back again? But notice, it wasn't just Pastor Nate or Lady Z. It was the church. It was you. It was people when I wasn't around who loved her and who embraced her. And then I remember one Sunday you showed up with David and James on a Sunday morning. These two young men, I was preaching, sitting in the back with you. What happened that Sunday?
Oh, so that Sunday.
Look at her smiling now, y'all.
Yeah,
these are memories. Come on.
Yeah, because that Sunday, because like I said, my son, he was in the streets and stuff, but he was coming up, and I talk about God. He would be like, he wasn't hearing it. So now he's into the church and stuff like that, because that Sunday, I think it was a young adults Sunday, and they were meeting in this room, in this same building. Yeah, they were meeting in here, and I wanted him to engage in, but I knew my son, like David, wasn't that. He's not that type. Like, he don't just walk up to people and be like, hey, he's really reserved and stuff like that. So I'm like, he not about to go in no group. And so I had talked to Miss Pearlie. I had met her prior to that, and she was like running a group at the time, and I was like, I have two boys, and I want them to be in a group or whatever. And she was like, okay, don't worry about it. We'll get them in. I'm like, that one, that David, that's my son. The other one is his cousin. I call him my son. I'm like, but David's not going in that group. Like, he's not going. She's like, don't worry about it. And so I left it alone. But I was somewhere near, because David's also known, like, if you talk to him or touch him or something, he'll go off. So I was like, I need to be close in case somebody say something and he don't want to hear it and he go off. And now, because then I was going to go off too, and I was going to be the end of me in greater life, because I don't play about my son. So anyway, David and them was trying to leave. We were leaving. I was going to the car because I didn't think he was going to go to the service. To the group. And then Miss Pearlie, David was going to the car with the keys.
Wow.
And then Miss Pearlie was like, come to the group. And he was like, I don't want to. And she took the keys out of his hand and was like, now you got to come to the group. So at that point, my son was introduced to greater life in a different way. He was able to be around young adults his age. Yeah. And I was like, okay, he might go in there, but he not sharing. And dog it, if she ain't come out there talking about, she had teary eyes. And I'm like, what's wrong? And she like, David and James shared. I said, David who?
I remember that Sunday, right. They opened up. They shared their heart. And here's a young man. And y'all, let's give Miss Pearlie a hand, because had she not had the, the mindset to not quit and to say, you know what? I'm not going to take a no.
Right.
You're going to come in her own tactful way. I guess grabbing the keys was the best way. David is one of the most faithful young men in our church. And, of course, James has since went back to Pittsburgh, but he was faithful until he left.
Yes, he was.
So, and then now Dayona is here, faithful and active, and I'm so proud of her and what she's doing. And so, Sadell, I thank you for sharing tonight. I want you to know I appreciate that. What is, Sadell, what would you do differently? If you could, there are many days in my life I wish I could turn back the hands of time. When I look back at things I've done and decisions I've made and courses I've taken in my life, I think all of us can testify there was, moments where we wish we could go back. What would you, if you could, Sadell, looking hindsight, what would you do? Tell the camera, what would you do different?
Honestly, Pastor Nate, nothing.
Nothing. That's good.
Nope, because
that's good.
I'm where I'm at today because of everything that I've been through in my life. I am who I am today, which is I'm strong, I'm bold, I'm intelligent, I'm loving, I'm nurturing, all of those things. And I couldn't be all of those things if I hadn't have went through the things that I went through in my life. If I had to pick a thing, I would want it to be that I had a personal relationship with God prior to. But even in that, I got it when He wanted me to get it at the time that it happened. Because I think if one thing would have been changed in my life back then, it could have been a ripple effect and affected where I am today. And I'm grateful for where I'm at today.
Wow, that's good. I want you to answer this for me. There are many people watching now. Some people are asking for a part 2, and we'll have to talk about that. But so many people are walking wounded. One thing about your journey, Sadell, you never hid your pain. You showed up with the bandana, didn't care who saw you, showed up with the bags under your eyes, didn't care, held your head, didn't care because you were just broken. But so many people, they don't, that's not their stance. Their stance is, let me fake it till I make it. Let me camouflage my pain. Can you look in the camera and for those watching, can you talk to the person who may be where you are? There's a good friend of mine in Miami now, and I tagged her in this. She's watching now from Miami, who her boyfriend who had proposed to her literally abandoned her. Out of nowhere, he moved to Atlanta, abandoned her, and she is literally on rock bottom. I almost need to connect you two together. Can you talk to a person who may be broken? For you, it was relational. For you, it was being a single mother. For you, it was the hustle, the game, being out in the street. Can you talk to a person who may be in that place right now? Broken, confused, Sadell, and lost. Can you minister to them? What would you tell that person on tonight?
First, I would start with telling that person, like, it's okay to be in that moment, when the hurt and the pain and the frustration. It's okay because you're human to be that. But don't be that alone. Don't be that alone. And it's you have to be comfortable with telling your truth, telling where you're at to somebody. I get it. Sometimes people you're not trusting, especially if someone has promised you something or you planned something and it didn't go according to plan because that person changed courses. It's really all about understanding you. Where am I? Okay, I'm frustrated, I'm upset, I'm depressed, I'm suicidal. Okay, from that, okay, I need help. Because you need help. You cannot do it by yourself. I tried it. It didn't work. My daughter had to pack up everything in Pittsburgh and move down here to help me get out the room, to open the blinds, to put food in my mouth, to make me sip water. So you can't do it by yourself.
Wow.
And God, he has to be in front of it, behind it, beside you, and the foundation of it. My guiding scripture through this whole process is Psalm 126:5.
Yeah, I love it.
It's those who sow in tears reap in joy.
That's it.
And when I tell y'all, listen, I'm from the hood. I done things. I done seen things. And really, people wouldn't have been able to tell me this, but I lived this. So it's okay to be broken. It's okay because life, it's a twist and a turn in life. It's okay to be broken. It's just that you can't stay there because God either allowed you to be broken or caused the brokenness because you need to elevate somewhere else so you can help somebody else. I couldn't keep quiet anymore about actually what happened because I know that there are people out there dealing with either similar with respect to, marriages and things like that, or just period broken, just going through the motions of life, period. And I just want everybody to know that is in that situation right now. It's okay to be where you at. You need to trust God. You need to incorporate God. You need to get you a support system, even if it's 3 people who love God, people who know God,
right.
Because that's where my strength came from. I couldn't do it by myself. I tried it, and I was stuck in the room weighing 140 pounds. When I honestly let go and was like, okay, God, you can have that. There's nothing else I could do. I have no control over this situation, although I wanted it. And when I said, God, you can have this, that's when I started seeing things happening. That's when he started placing people in my life to speak into my life. But I had to be submissive to it too. You can't think that you're broken, okay, and I'm going to just keep this in and figure it out for myself and think it's going to work, because I promise you it will not. You need to get you a support system, and you need to always make sure God is incorporated in that.
Wow. So Dale, what do you want? What do you want with your life? Do you want your husband back?
No.
Do you want do you want to be married again? What do you is there life after the breakup? Is there life after the breakup? Is there life after the divorce? What is your goal now? Do you think you could trust again?
I'm working on that. Honestly, no,
Okay.
I don't. People say things, and that's because I was blindsided by that. So,
Okay.
no, I don't want the marriage that I had anymore because that's done. But I do believe that I'm a wife. I know that I have the qualities, and I
Right.
believe that, especially now with the growth from me joining the church, being ordained, preaching the gospel, teaching the
Right.
gospel, that I know a different way to be a wife. I thought I was that wife. We like to be the ride or dies. I don't want to be the ride or die anymore. I want to be the Proverbs wife and understanding a husband who understands who God is, who loves God first. That's
Right.
what I want. And so if I believe that I'm a wife, but I don't know right now. I'm just doing what God want me to do, and so I'm not even focused on that at this point.
Right. And I believe this tonight that you do have a ministry to hurting women. One of the things I think we need to incorporate in the church, Sadell, is more of a platform where the older women can pour into the younger women. I think that's very critical. That's the Titus 2 principle that we don't use a lot. We can have a young adult ministry, but a 25-year-old really can't tell another 24-year-old
Right.
how to live life.
Right.
And I think God is dealing with me with putting older. Now they may not hang out at the beach with everybody, but they can have that platform to teach the younger women. And I think the men need it too, how to be husbands
Yes.
and fathers and just upstanding men. And so Greater Life, that's coming. And I don't care if 10 show up.
That's
If
right.
10 young women show up, we're going to sit them in front of some older, seasoned women who are real, because I believe everybody has a testimony. Everybody is a broken crayon.
Yes.
Would you agree to that,
Yes, I
Sadell?
do.
As spiritual as we try to be, everybody is a broken crayon. So I think there's a ministry in you for women, for hurting women, because it took a lot of courage for you to come tonight to share what you share. And I hope we have a different perspective of this woman when you see her and why we could not give up on her. She came in here as a 3. She came in here as someone who was really out in the street trying to get in church, but God took her life and loving people, and look at what he's done. So Dale, how can we follow you? My mic went out. How can we follow you? How can we on social media? How can we follow you?
They can go to the Pretty Tough Room page on Facebook and like that page. We're also on YouTube as well. So type in the Pretty Tough Room, YouTube and Facebook, and you can follow me there. My personal page, I'm not taking any new people
On
on
your
that page.
personal page.
Yeah, because most of my things, biblical or anything like that, they'll see me on the Greater Life page if I'm preaching and teaching.
Okay.
But for the podcast and anything like that, it's the Pretty Tough Room, both Facebook and YouTube.
Okay. Can I take the liberty and do this tonight? I want everybody who will, and you didn't tell me to do this, but I want everybody to sow into your ministry, the Pretty Tough Room. I'm going to have the team to put your Cash App up. It's up right now. And she didn't ask me to do this, but find $10, find $20. And Sadell is blessed, and Sadell is a tither and a giver. So I believe in sowing into what is good ground, and I believe the Pretty Tough Room is good ground. And $TPTR, the Pretty Tough Room. If everybody will sow a quick seed, nothing big if you don't want to. If you want to, do that. But let's sow into this young, amazing, emerging leader on tonight, the Pretty Tough Room. Anything you want to share? This
Yeah.
is your platform.
Yeah,
Anything
I
you
want to
wanna
share.
say?
So first, thanks, Pastor Nate,
Honor.
for coming
Thank
on
you.
and facilitating this for me. I asked you because I knew there was going to be tears and stuff, but also because you literally walked that journey with me every step of the way. I was broken in January and I met you in February. So you have seen that process along with some other people. You guys, you know who you are. I actually need everybody to not log off because I'm not in my usual space where I do this. I have video that I want to share with everybody from people who experienced my journey with me, and they recorded themselves. So I need to come off of this platform. We're going to come back on. So just stay at the Pretty Tough Room or the YouTube page, whichever one. I'm going to log off and log back on. I just want to share this with you guys because it's not just something I'm telling you. I lived it, and I'm telling you this. But I wanted you to be able to see and hear from other people who actually walked this with me. And I pray it blesses somebody who's right now dealing with something and feel like it's the end of the world. Trust me, get you some tissue because I cried when I seen one of them. But please don't go anywhere from your computers. I'm going to log off and then log right back on in 2 seconds. Thank you for joining us on the Pretty Tough Room podcast. Remember that tough times never last. Can you hear me now? Ooh, I need to quit crying. Makeup.
Maybe come on the screen first.
I am on the screen.
Okay.
You hear me? Okay. Hi, y'all. I'm just waiting for a couple more people to come back in so we could play this video. Thanks so much for coming back. Did y'all realize that my lashes came off in the middle of the thing? It was like this, and nobody didn't say nothing, so I like snatched it off real quick and slid it to my daughter, like, get these. Oh, shoot. I don't care y'all seeing this. Yeah, this is live and uncut because my lashes will come off. I knew it. Them dang on Glamedics. Hi, cousin. Thanks so much for the support. Hey, Nia.
You got 34.
35. We ready to go?
It's okay.
Okay.
That's 35.
Okay, here we go. Okay, guys, I'm gonna switch over to YouTube and I want to share this video with you guys. And then when the video's over, I'm gonna end the broadcast. I love you guys so much. Thank you for coming on and supporting me. It was hard to do this, but it was necessary. Give me 1 second. Let me figure this out. career. But sometimes life has its twists and turns, and in life we make plans, plans for our future. We plan for the perfect husband, we plan, or wife. We plan for the perfect children, a perfect job or career. But sometimes life has its twists and turns. Hold on. And they can hear it?
They can hear it.
Okay. Sorry, y'all. Hold on. I'm trying to figure this out. Wait, yeah, they can see you. You see my daughter? Say hi, Dayana. Okay, wait. Share. Wait, how? Okay, share. Share the screen. Share the screen. Entire screen. Yes. Wait. Okay, there we go. All right, let me know if this. Can y'all see it?
It's gonna be a delay. Let's start over.
Okay, I'm gonna start. Sorry, y'all.
It's the delay.
There it is. Okay.
I'll make it bigger. Make it full screen.
There it is. You can still see me?
Good. So if she starts crying,
It's okay.
okay, I will go ahead and play it now.
All right, play it now. In life, we make plans, plans for our future. We plan for the perfect husband, we plan, or wife. We plan for the perfect children, a perfect job or career. But sometimes life has its twists and turns, and it doesn't quite pan out the way we planned it. We sometimes are faced with mountains and we're in valleys as we're journeying through life, just trying to be the best version of ourselves, for ourselves and for our families. And sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. And we just have to understand that life is a journey, and that broken crayons still color. And this is my journey. Depression is something serious, but ain't nothing like this water to make you just humble. So soothing.
Pretty tough room. So I'm Keela. I came to share my pretty tough moment with you guys. So we'll just start at the beginning. Me and Sadell know each other pretty much all our lives. But we started hanging really strong back in like December of 97. I can remember because my son was about 3 months and she was talking about me. When we got to the house, she said I had him in a little sleeper. So, 97. So, that's a lot of years. So over the years, my friend's always been vibrant. I'm talking about changing hair colors, goes out on limbs, the life of the party, stacked in all the right places, and just Sadell. That's who I know. That's Sadell. And so when I get the call to say I need to come down there, there's a situation, I get down there and nothing could have prepared me for what I was going to see. Gone was my vibrant friend, the life of the party. She just was like, there was just like no life behind my friend's eyes. She had her hair like in these 2 braids going to the back. And like I was saying, my friend had gold, red, whatever you could think of. And she had these, she kept hair in, hair out, because she always had hair, but her hair was always done. She had these 2 braids going straight to the back. she had lost so much weight, and then there was just really nothing behind my friend's eyes, which was really tough for me, you know, seeing that like that. And, you know, I left. We lost touch. She kind of went into like a hibernation, you know, what she needed to do to get herself to where she is today. So we lost touch for almost about 2 years. And then I go and get on Facebook one day, and somebody had shared, you know, the pretty tough one. And so I go to look at it, and then there, that was my friend, Maverick, you know, just glowing. You could see the light back behind her eyes. She had taken herself back and taken control. And that was so pretty to me, you know, just to see my friend get herself back. So a little backwards, a little tough and pretty, but
by my mother to go to a powder room. I wasn't a member of the church that they went to. I would go to support my dad if he was preaching, or my sister if she was dancing, but I did not go every Sunday. So this particular Saturday, my mom asked me to go to what was called a powder room that Lady Z put on, and I believe my mom was helping with it. And so I went. Went to the powder room. It was great. There's lots of women there, and everyone's talking about their testimonies, and we're giving encouraging words to one another and wisdom, and it was great. There was a lady, though, she was giving her testimony, and it was like something about her that captured my attention. When she was talking about her journey and the things that she had been through, I literally felt like I was watching a movie. It was like the way that she explained it. I felt like I was there. Like, it was very descriptive. It was very, you know, raw, you know, and I kept saying to myself, like, this lady, like, she's going to be like a rapper or like a public speaker or a poet or an author, because I'd never experienced someone who could captivate me with the way that they talk and could get me to visualize everything they were saying. So I remember going home, and I told my mom, she was asking, you know, how'd you enjoy the powder room? And I'm like, you know, that lady, the one with the red hair and the dreads and the bandana, when she was telling her story, like, I really saw it. I feel like she's going to be something big, like her story is going to impact people, Mom. Like, the way she talks, the way she gets you to visualize when she's not even trying, she's being herself. And I told my mom all this stuff, and she's like, that's crazy. I'm like, yeah. So go on about my life, go to work, whatever I do.
Yeah.
And I think my dad had to preach. And so obviously I went to the church to be there to support my dad. And my mom was like, Autumn, come here. Like, I want you to meet someone. I need you to meet someone. And I'm like, okay. You know, I don't talk to anybody at the church. I wasn't a member there, but I was like, okay. So I walk up, and Sidell was standing there, her and Sade. And my mom said, Sidell, this is my daughter, Autumn. And this is the one that I wanted you to meet. And Autumn, I really want you to tell her what you told me. And, you know, so I was put on the spot, but I told her, even then, even her standing in front of me, I could visually see her brokenness. And I just told her, like, I feel like God was telling me, like, you're going to be something crazy amazing. Like, the way you talk, you were going to be a public speaker, you're going to be a preacher, or you're going to be an author. You're going to be someone who can cultivate people with your mouth. And she just looked at me and was like, wow. And I'm like, I know. It's weird for me too. Like, I don't do this. But I know that that's what I felt God was telling me to tell her. Yeah. That was really crazy. Fast forward. I became a member of the church, started joining things and stuff like that, and being involved in ministry. And my family began to get extremely close to Sidel and her family. It was almost like an unspoken, like, blended family. It was really weird how it happened and how it is still. But you know, we spent a lot of time together, our both of our families, and got close with one another. And you know, although we knew we weren't blood related, you know, but just sometimes when you go through certain things with people, you spend time with people, or you just need each other during certain times. That's what it is. Even to this day, like, we're not friends. Sidel's not my friend. David's not my friend. That's my family. Is a big difference, you know. But I remember, and some of the times, you know, us being around each other, you know, Sidel's father passed away. And that was another hard moment for her, because she's not there. She's, 2,000 miles away. She's not there, and hasn't been there. She's been trying to live her life here, you know. And she was really having a tough time. So she came over, and we'd all hang out. And I remember my dad, like, just kind of stepping in to fill that fatherly role of what she needed in her life. And I would just sit back and be so proud. Like, people don't know. I mean, people know who my dad is, and they know him as, you know, not, he's very, like, to the point, he's blunt, you know, whatever. But with her, there was a soft spot. There was a, let's listen to music. Like, I have videos of them dancing and listening to music in the living room, you know, and I'm getting a little emotional, but it was very touching to be able to watch my dad fill a void that she had in her heart from not having her father. And I was honored to do that.
We look alike in that picture.
Hi, my name is Michelle. I met Sidel through work at Father Joe's Villages. At one point, she was my supervisor, and I was a nurse on her team. When I first met Sidel, I knew right away she was good people. She was very engaging and just very charming, smart, you know, so she was quite the joy to work with. And she would always refer to me as either her favorite nurse or her nurse. And she let anybody who would listen know that. And so when things took a turn in her marriage and she struggled, it was so hard to watch. I just have never seen anyone go through what she had gone through and the physical and mental toll it took on her. She would come to work and you could just see over the days and weeks and months where she was losing weight. Her clothes were hanging off of her. It was hard to watch, and just you could see she was depressed and just struggling emotionally with what was going on in her marriage. And there were times where she would come into my office and we would talk, or she would talk and I would listen. And there was this one time that she came in and she just struggled. We both wound up crying. And I mean, she just was a ball of emotion. She was broken. She was angry at God at one point. Why was this happening to her? Why was this happening to her marriage? and she just couldn't comprehend what was going on. And I think, and we talked about this, that God had a plan for her. And in that plan, she found her church home in Greater Life and Pastor Nate. And if you know anything about Sadell, she's a nurturer. It's very hard for her to accept help. And she finally, I think, with just continued support and love from folks, she finally was able to let people in to help her through this, to love on her, to pray on her, to nurture her mentally, physically, her soul. And it was beautiful to see her transition, and it made me think of a caterpillar blossoming into a beautiful butterfly. And, you know, thank you, Pastor Nate. Thank you, God, because at one point I thought we were going to lose her. And to see her and her vibrancy and her ministry, I mean, it is something to behold. And I hope her story will inspire others. Thank you.
Yeah, that blue lipstick was tragic.
Hi, I'm Madonna. I'm Sadell's friend from work. You'll hear her refer to me as PIC. We are also both Virgos, September 2nd, so our personalities are very similar. I watched Sadell's journey from the beginning. I will never forget the day that she came in just devastated and crying, and had been all weekend and had not slept. And I watched her for months not eat and trying to get her to eat and drink. And she hit her full rock bottom when her son called me that she had passed out in the bathroom and hit her head. So when I got to the hospital, the doctor said that she was extremely dehydrated. She was malnourished. She emotionally and psychologically was shut down. She was suicidal. It was scary. It was scary to watch her. I mean, we were all, myself and Michelle, were all had eyes on her because we were so worried about her, because she lost like 50 pounds, and she cried and cried and cried. And, you know, it's really hard when you see somebody like that. It's, you know, and you can't do anything about it. And all you can do is try and help them and watch them and try and make sure that they know that you're there. And Michelle would, you know, make sure that, you know, her blood pressure was good because she kept having palpitations and high blood pressure. And then Amber started working there, and so she was a huge network as well. And it was scary to watch her. It was very, very scary to watch her. Because she was sad. She was, you know, it was hard. And then she met her Greater Life Church, and it was so amazing to see her at rock bottom and watch her to flourish and start to grow. And the pinnacle point was when she got ordained. It was the most beautiful thing, because her journey before was not her journey. Her journey with Greater Life was her journey. And the support the church gave her and her ministry and her counseling with Pastor Nate made, and her relationship with God and what she's going to bring in her ministry is what made her today. And she had to go through a really hard journey, I mean, I would not wish it upon anybody, but she did it. Love you most.
Birthday.
Hi, everybody. My name is Bianca. I just wanted to share a few things that I experienced regarding Sadell's journey through brokenness. I remember Sadell and I got very close during that time, and it was very interesting to be around her, to journey with her. And it's so interesting, even her preparing for today has caused so much anxiety for other people, because I feel like she's telling our story, because I feel like we journey together. God puts people in your life in certain seasons for a certain reason, and in that particular season, Sadell became my sister, and it was a very interesting time. We had to be very sensitive to Sadell. She was very fragile, could easily be broken. We had to be careful what we said and what we did. And, on certain holidays, Valentine's Day, anniversary days, you had to be very sensitive to her, because she was in a very difficult place when Sadell found out that her daughter, Diana, had ran into her husband and the young lady in public. I can recall Sadell's cry, the wailing that she expressed, the tremor in her voice, and I remember she went to my mom. She went to my mom and just asked. My mom was hugging her, and she was just asking my mom, like, "Why can't I just get over this? Why can't I get over this?" It's like Sadell had thought she had suppressed all of her emotions, but there was like the Band-Aid had ripped open again. The wound was still fresh, so it was like the cut was exposed again, and all the pain, all the blood that she had felt was pouring out. It was, I can still hear the cry, the piercing cry that she let out in that car that day. And I just said, oh my God. The point for me was in the midst of Sadell's depression, she answered the call to join the Ministers in Training program. I was in the program with her, and we were preparing for our first sermonette, and we were going back and forth with different titles with each other and things like that. And Sadell's tagline to her first sermonette was, "It gets greater later." And Sadell, your later is now. I just thank God for him allowing you to go through that broken place to be a light to somebody else. Your brokenness is healing somebody else. You were able to rebuild from rock bottom. You were able to be renewed, restored, refreshed. And I'm just so thankful that you were obedient to God's call. I know it's not easy, but I just pray that God's continued favor will be upon your life. I pray that you'll continue to share your story, because somebody needs to hear this. You did not go through all that you went through for you. It's for somebody else. So I love you. Your greater is now, and it's just time to come to walk fully in it, man. I love you, sis.
You see me walking greater like an empty vessel, broken, torn on the floor. I gave up on myself. Some friends gave up on me. They talked about me and they counted me out. Loved ones turned their back on me and they walked away. Never got a plan, whole and redeemed. I know the situation looks impossible. I know the devil's in your ear telling you it won't happen. But God, in 2019, go with God, because with God, your latter is always greater.
Oh, shoot. That's where Autumn said I was going to be around.
Hello, I am Zakina Stewart, First Lady at the Greater Life Baptist Church. I met Sadell several years ago. I think when she was at the very low point of her brokenness. There were several times that I was worried about her. The first, I could tell when she came in that she was in a very low place. So my heart was just really broken for her. But the first time that I was really worried about her, I was so worried that I actually went to where she was and we talked on the pier about things that were going on and where she was in her brokenness in her life. I can think of another instance that I was very worried about Sadell, and that was when we had a pillow talk weekend edition here in San Diego with LMJ, with Keisha Johnson, and Sadell. Something even deeper broke in her that evening, and she sat on the kitchen floor and she wailed and wailed and wailed. It was such a deep, soul-stirring wail and cry that I will never forget it. And I could tell that she was so broken. I don't think I have ever seen anybody that broken and just in their soul. But, there were other instances that worried me. But what truly amazed me is when I saw Sadell step in the pulpit to preach her first sermon. And I was like, oh my God, it's like God just picked this person up that kind of poured her soul and tears out on that floor at the Pillow Talk. And she gave a sermon that was powerful. Her words were put together so well. I knew then that God used her. God is using her. I mean, I was just wild. I was amazed, and I'm continue to be amazed by the things that Sadell is doing. She's my armor bearer. I mean, I know she has my back. She checks on me. She sends expressions of love. She is just someone that, you know, I truly love. I am so proud of you, Sadell. I am so proud of you coming back from the things that were tossed at you. Continue to amaze everyone around you, but most importantly, God. I love you.
That's my first lady.
Hey, Sadell P. It's me. You owe me big time for this one. Got me on video. But 2 encounters. Pretty tough moment would be, I think, probably a year into your journey. One of your children called and they had spotted your husband out and about, giving you a call. I think that was the first time that anyone had laid eyes on him since the situation. You called, you were out and about doing some things. I think it was a Saturday, I'm not sure. But you called and were sobbing, and it was hard. It was hard for me because you had made so much progress. And I think it's probably a year in. And then what ended up happening is you called and said, hey, he's out and about. I'm not sure how I want to respond to this. And I think we prayed on it. You came by, we discussed it, you stayed the night, let you sleep it off. You know, and it was really hard because anyone in your situation would probably feel the same way. And it was a battle because you're always wanting to respond correctly. And I think at the time we were working on your responses to situations and people. So that was very difficult for me, but prayed you through it. We prayed, got through it, and moved on to the next. A pretty good moment for me would be when you launched the Pretty Tough Room. That was huge for you. It gave you something to occupy your time and not have to keep reflecting on the things that you had previously gone through. You had tons of notebooks and notes on every episode, ideas that God had already given you. So to see you, you know, that be birthed and launched, it was amazing. And I'm glad that I was a part of that. Not only that, I think that another great moment for me would be when you were preparing for your first photo shoot for the Pretty Tough Room. The behind the scenes, the laughing, the makeup, the, you know, deciding which wardrobe you would wear, and to see you in that light. We had never seen you in that light before. When I met you, you were going through, you were the girl with, you know, with the do-rag, you know, and we prayed through that, and then you were the lady with the red hair. Then there was the lady with the blonde hair. That's how I know that God was working on you and helping you. I'm getting chased by a dog.
Hi, my name is Jackie Nevels, also known as Sister Friend, and I was asked by Sadell to speak on a memory in which I encountered from her brokenness that was both pretty and tough. And so I'll begin with a tough memory. And it's not just one memory, one particular thing, but rather just those first few months after Nell decided that he was leaving Sadell. Those first few months were hard. It was a really hard time for Sadell, and she couldn't grasp the fact that her husband was leaving. She couldn't accept it. She wasn't going to accept it. And if you know Sadell, then you know how strong she is. But in that moment, during that time, she was literally broken at a low point in life, the lowest point that I had ever seen her. And so she wasn't eating, she wasn't herself. Her skin, her appearance looked different. I mean, it literally took a toll on her, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. She was just like robbed of everything that was in her, or everything that makes her her. And I remember her saying to me, sister friend, you know, if he's not going to be here, then there's no reason for me to live. And if you know Sadell, then you know how much her husband means to her. And when she said that, I knew that she meant it. And I remember, you know, times where I couldn't reach her and I had to call David just to check on her and see how things were going, because there was never no way that I wasn't going to know what was going on all the way here in Pittsburgh. I needed to know that she was okay for the time being. And she held true to that statement that if he wasn't going to be here, there was no point for her to be here. And I remember being on the phone with David at the time. I was at work, and I remember just like breaking down and just praying so hard and just asking God, just like, you know, keep my sister friend here, Lord, just strengthen her up. I was praying for her circle of friends because she was across the country, you know, just somewhere new. So I was even, you know, just praying and asking God to surround her with the right people. It was a dark moment. And I remember her best friend from home, Keela, went to go see her during that time. And I couldn't go because I was afraid to fly. So Keela got there, and, you know, Keela and I were talking. And I remember Keela telling me, like, Jackie, it don't look good. And Keela and I, we cried on the phone together. And she showed me a video of Sadell at the boardwalk. And it was like she was trying, she was fighting so hard to just be okay, but she wasn't. And that brokenness was just in her. It just, she wasn't herself. So that's one memory that I had that stands out the most, because it was the beginning. It was the beginning of things. But God is so good. God is so good. He don't make no mistakes. So if I had to choose a pretty moment, aside from her being ordained, because I flew out there for that. I faced my fear for that. I wasn't going to miss that. I don't know how or why God moves the way that he moves. I don't know how I wasn't able to meet her in her brokenness, but I met her right there for that ordination. I was right there. But if I had to speak on a pretty moment aside from that, it was her first sermonette. And when she got up there to speak, she was still battling, you know, still going through. But it was like, God, use me. I'm here. Do what you're going to do. And she did it. And to me, it was just so impactful, because it was like, I meant that. Each time Sadell preached, I meant that I was there, you know, watching through the live stream. And when she got up there, my husband, myself, and my little sister sat on her front porch while the party was going on the inside, and we listened to her preach. And we were all in tears. And it wasn't because of, you know, the word, because the word itself was good, but it was the fact that Sadell had made it this far. this is where she's at. So that was the pretty moment for me. That stands out the most. So, sister friend, I love you. I'm proud of you. Keep going in your journey. Keep God first as you always have.
Yep. Oh God, we got the thing.
Oh, sorry. Escape. Okay. Shoot. Oh, shoot. Sorry, y'all.
Stop sharing. Stop sharing.
Wait.
Hey y'all, what's going on? It's
Oh wait,
Bianca.
hold up.
Tuning
It's
in.
Bianca. Thank y'all so much for staying on and doing that with me. I didn't get to see some of them videos. I only saw one of them, so I didn't know they was going to be that emotional. Thank you to everybody who I know, right, Lay Reed? To everybody who stuck with it and listened, to everybody who walked my journey with me. I didn't know I impacted y'all like that. I stretched y'all out, huh? But I love each and every one of y'all for walking that journey with me. And it's only up from here, okay? Because I'm better now. Let's go. Let's go. It's a new chapter. Thank you, Day Day. Thanks, David. Thanks, B. I love you so much.
Love you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye. Subscribe.
Like, subscribe. Like, subscribe. I said. Okay, sorry. End.